Welcome. This is part 2 of my video on the age-old question, how many legs should a dragon have? Part 1 was a general overview of dragon anatomy across myth and fiction, and not to spoil it, but the answer is who cares? But part 2 is specifically about the A Song of Ice and Fire franchise, including Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and so on, and how this question pertains to it. Please enjoy the presentation. One of the people who actually has a right to correct people on this topic is noted dragon blogger and my close personal friend George R.R. Martin, because he writes dragon fiction once every couple of decades. George, of course, knows that each fiction, each artist, each writer is free to treat dragons as they see fit, but George has his preferences, he has his favorites, and he gets to make the rules of his own fiction. In A Song of Ice and Fire and its associated material, he prioritizes the realism of this made-up mythical creature. George's dragons are reptilian in a real sense, and that means they're tetrapods. They've got 4 limbs, same as us. Wings are limbs, see bats, birds, other flighted archosaurs. So dragons with 4 legs and 2 wings would have 6 limbs. That means that they'd have to evolve completely new limbs and joints and muscles and blood vessels and everything. This sort of thing quite simply just doesn't happen in nature. Not to mention, the additional weight of those legs would necessitate ridiculously large and powerful wings to believably take flight. So while dragons are entirely fantastical, George has chosen to present the form of dragons he figures is most naturalistic. 2 rear legs, 2 wings which are sometimes used as 4 legs. Not quite sure how they breathe fire though. I think that's where crazy blood magic comes into it. I think that's the naturalistic explanation at least. Side note, and I hate to be the guy who keeps bringing up dragon genitals, but reptiles don't have external testicles, so if you can't find Drogon's balls, it's just some more naturalistic world building. In George's world, dragons are magical and it's suggested their origin is unnatural, but they are real animals. They exist. So unlike the medieval heralds and artists and storytellers in our world who were describing things that don't exist, the people of Westeros had a concrete model when discussing and depicting dragons. There was no ambiguity for them. Nobody would think dragons have 4 legs because dragons are real and they have 2 legs. So drawing a dragon with 4 legs would be like an artist drawing a bison with 6 legs. Like, sure, you can do it, but we all know bison don't look like that, and that's not what dragons look like. That brings us to the sigil of House Targaryen. Such a striking and iconic design, but did you know it's just straight up wrong in most of the time you see it? In 2024, as part of a blog post about the importance of maintaining canonicity, George went on a bit of a rant about the specifics of his dragons and highlighted that the dragon of the Targaryen sigil, while anatomically inaccurate in some artistic and symbolic ways, should always have 2 legs. If you're at all familiar with the branding and merchandising of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, you can see where this is going. Yes, we did all of that just so I could complain about a minor production design continuity error in some HBO shows. You know stuff about artwork of St. George now, just because some prop team in 2011 made a weird decision about dragon legs, and I have decided to make it your problem. Full spoilers for Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon from here on in. In his snarky blog post, George mentions that Game of Thrones got the Targaryen sigil right for the first 4.5 seasons. Like a few other things George said in that blog, no. While the actual dragons in the show consistently have 2 legs, the Targaryen sigil is all over the place. Come on, let's have a look. I promise this is interesting, or at least a little funny. In the first episode, Viserys Targaryen's doublet has a 4-legged dragon on it. The first episode. He wears this sick-ass strip all through season 1, here's a clearer shot of it. That's a rough start, but it's not actually the first depiction of a dragon seen in the series. That would be this one in the opening credits sequence, which might look a little confusing at first, but it's got 2 legs. Within the first episode, we're already seeing the inconsistencies. Daenerys has no power in the first season, so Viserys' doublet is our only good look at the Targaryen sigil in the show, but the supplementary material for season 1 sure has some non-canon 4-legged freaks. The House Targaryen DVD extra is our first good clear look at the sigil, and it's wrong. But the House Baratheon extra has a Targaryen sigil hanging out in the side here, and it's got the canonical 2 legs. But Rhaegar's armor and banner has 4 legs. Viserys' doublet has 4 legs in the extras too, so at least that's consistent. This epic dragon constricting the map of Westeros has taken some artistic license in the form of 3 heads symbolizing Aegon and his 2 sisters, but there's still only 2 legs. The opening credits astrolabe dragon is correct, but behind the scenes material shows that the team did have a 4-legged sigil asset for the map. It's spelt wrong and they never used it, and it's a JPEG, but it's there and it has 4 legs. So contrary to what George thought, season 1 is sorta all over the place when it comes to the Targaryen sigil. His explanation for the disparity, by the way, is that someone in the production must have studied enough late medieval English heraldry to learn that dragons always have 4 legs, but not enough to learn that that rule only applies to that context. And in Westeros, dragons are real and have 2 legs, except in Ned's boring book where 3 legs has the dragon. With Viserys dead, even though he never hurt anyone, I don't think there are any on-screen depictions of the Targaryen sigil in season 2. There are the dragon statues on Dragonstone, and they're a part of the painted table room design, but that's about it. This 3-headed dragon holding a quill in the House Tyrell extra has no legs though, so that's interesting. And the background of the same extra has the correct sigil, which I think is our first good look at the 2-legged design. It's unclear who exactly this is supposed to be, but he's got the right dragon on him, so good on him. Season 2 is really light on the dragons, but it did give me an opportunity to appreciate that the Greyjoy sigil is completely consistent with an anatomically accurate 8 arms and 2 tentacles on the giant squid, so that's great. I mean, it's actually a kraken, but while dragons are completely mythical and fantastical, there is simply no such thing as a winged fire-breathing reptile. The kraken is essentially an enormous squid. Not only is that plausible, it sort of just straight up exists. We shouldn't be surprised that other sigils are consistent, of course. It's just the Targaryen one that makes no sense. Season 3 is also pretty light on the dragons. Jorah's new armor has dragons on the spolders, but I can't actually see any legs or really anything other than tail. It's all tail, baby. The cover of the book Davos is reading has a 2-legged dragon on it, and thank God for that because you can see it for an entire quarter of a second. There's a fucking sick-ass dragon carved into a wall in the painted table room, but I can't really get a good look at its limbs, and that's it. It's crazy, but for a show that's literally called The Dragon Show, there were barely any dragons in it for several years. The season 3 extras have some dragons for us though. The Stormlands feature shows Aegon the Conqueror's 2-legged sigil, and the Robert's Rebellion retelling by Peter and Varys features the book-accurate design too. So even though seasons 2 and 3 have the fewest dragons and contain a few ambiguities, they get an A for completely avoiding the botched 4-leg design from season 1. Season 4 starts strong by giving us the first 2-legged Targaryen sigil in the show proper when Daenerys conquers Meereen. I imagine this is what George was thinking of when he said that Game of Thrones got it right for the first 4.5 seasons. You'd sort of expect the show to go a bit heavier on the dragons now that Daenerys is in power, give her a bunch of dragon-themed decor, dragon-filled outfits for her posse, sort of ironically clash with her losing control of the dragons this season, but no, not really. We don't even see that banner again. But the 2-legged sigil shows up a lot in the House Martell feature, and the Bastards feature, and the Kingsguard feature, Oberyn's telling of the rebellion, and the Justice feature. Every single dragon depicted in season 4 has 2 legs. It's season 5 now, and Dany still hasn't decked her crew out with dragon digs, even after she starts going full dragon queen feeding people to her kids. Daenerys herself does wear this crazy 3-headed dragon thing on her dress, but it's all wings and no legs as far as I can tell. We don't see her house's sigil until Daznak's pit in episode 9. They're actually all over this scene, and it's all the same 2-legged design is what I thought until I zoomed in on this, so what's going on there? Considering the angle of these 2 shots, I'm pretty sure this dragon loses 2 legs between cuts. My thinking is the 2-legged ones are real physical props used on set, and these 4-legged ones were CG'd in with the crowd put into the show by a completely separate department. But even then, I don't know, because this shot of the exact same area only 10 minutes later has two-legged sigils. It's a good thing Drogon shows up to remind me what a dragon actually looks like. In any case, two incongruent designs of the same prop used in the same scene is sloppy stuff, and I hate to say that because season 5 is so neat and tidy otherwise. At least it's not in the same shot. That would be egregious. Also in this scene, Dany is wearing this sculpture around her neck of a very noodly Drogon. It's abstract and I can't really tell leg from tail from wing here, so I'm just gonna give it a pass because it's slay. As for the extras, in Barristan's Rebellion retelling, young Aerys's necklace has two legs, as does the Targaryen banner at the Harrenhal tourney, along with Rhaegar's drip and horse drip, and it's correct in the Faith Militant feature too. Aside from that, the Targaryen sigil only appears in the Dance of the Dragons feature. The double Ouroboros at the beginning has no legs, but maybe they've just been gobbled up. But the very next dragon depicted decorating this book appears to have 4 legs, and oh geez, they're all gonna be like this, aren't they? The actual dragons in the feature are correct, but the illustrations are all side-on with 2 legs visible, obviously implying another 2 legs on the other side. The sigil is always depicted correctly though. Bro, who is this goofy ass? So season 5 was mostly right with some weird errors. Oh boy, it's my favorite. Season 6. Time for things to be ruined completely. Meereen is still surprisingly dragon-free, so the first Targaryen sigil here is actually on the Kingsguard armor in the Tower of Joy Vision, and it's got 2 legs. In episode 8, we finally see the Targaryen banners around Meereen, and they're also correct. In episode 10, the Citadel actually has the credits astrolabe, so you can see that 2-legged dragon again here. This is sounding pretty good so far, but then we get to the very end of the season, and you can hear George groaning because Dany's entire fleet has 4-legged dragons on the sails. So that's wrong, but the extras are all right. This season 6 teaser has a 2-legged dragon banner, this wax seal on a letter in Varys Little Birds extra has 2 legs, as do the banners, and these illustrations of dragons in the Old Town feature. Mira's Tourney of Harrenhal feature has a really blurry Targaryen shield, but I trust it. The House Dane feature has the Kingsguard armor with the right number of legs, but the Dothraki feature shows some monsters which are described as dragons but have 4 legs. Young Aerys Card in the Ninepenny Kings feature has legless dragons, but I'm gonna let that one slide for aura reasons. The feature on Baelor's Sept has a big fat Targaryen sigil with 2 juicy looking legs, which is great, but that's all for season 6. They got them all right except for the big money shot at the end, and nobody actually remembers the first 8 episodes of season 6, so that's all that matters really. Season 7. Yeah, I watched Season 7 for this. Where's my medal? Even though Dany stopped to pick up a new outfit, she didn't have time to fix her sails. We finally get a better look at the dragon in the painted table room, and I'm pretty sure it's only got 2 legs. That's a Season 2 set element though, so Season 7 doesn't get the points. Dany's cute dragon toy appears to be 2-legged, and the Targaryen banners in the chambers beneath the Red Keep have 2 legs, so that's neat. Missandei starts wearing this 3-headed, no-legged Ouroboros pin to signify her official status as Dany's bestest friend forever. Dany's new 3-headed dragon thing doesn't have any legs, but it also doesn't have anything, so that's fine. In the assault on They're Telling Me This Is Casterly Rock, the sails still have 4 legs. Oh, Grey Worm has the same pin as Missandei, that's cute. It made some sense in Meereen, but now the Dragonstone throne room has no dragons, which I think is just crazy, but welcome to Season 7, I guess. Beyond the Wall and the ships are still wrong. Dragon and the Wolf and... Guys, I don't think they're gonna fix them. No wrong dragons in the big dumb meeting except for this skull that shouldn't be here. I'm just sort of baffled they didn't bring any Targaryen banners with them. Why does this show hate fun? Gods, even the boat sex door has the wrong dragon on it. So season 7 is a feverish mess, but what else is new? But the DVD extras this season are actually pretty awesome, as evidenced by this 2-legged Blackfire sigil in the Golden Company feature. Bitterseal's personal arms has 6 limbs, which is insane, but it's canon and he made it up, so whatever. Put it on the fridge with the rest of them. The Prophecies feature, which rocks, has the correct Targaryen and Blackfire sigils. The dragons in the Dragon Pit feature all have 2 legs. The Hand of the King feature is correct too, including its pre-Fabian Frankel Kristen Cole armor. So the whole show proper is now completely wrong except for a teeny little bit, but everything else is great. Except we are yet to discuss the best part of Season 7 and probably the best feature HBO ever made for Game of Thrones, Conquest and Rebellion. Like most extras, it has the correct sigil, punctuating some of its chapter title cards. It even details the story of Aegon first adopting the sigil, and there's loads of banners and shields and sails and so on throughout that have the correct 2 legs. It's great. Minor issue, and this isn't leg related, but I want to point out that Orys Baratheon and Rhaenys Targaryen lead troops with the inverted Blackfire banner. That's weird. And Rhaegar has one later on. That's actually treason, Rhaegar. Aerys was right about you. I wonder if this is because the Blackfire assets are also used in this feature and things just got messed up. It's not that big a deal, and it's the only issue in the— what the fuck was that? Oh god, you were doing so well. And what the hell is this? 4-legged Targaryen versus 4-legged Blackfire. I hope they all lose. But that's all just a prelude to my favorite shot in all Westeros related media. Brace yourself for psychic damage and feast your eyes on this. Isn't it beautiful? Prince Rhaegar Targaryen wearing a 2-legged Targaryen sigil on his armor and a 4-legged Targaryen sigil on his shield. What the fuck? I think about this every day because how the hell does this even happen? Its existence defies any logic. I know that nobody cares about this aside from George and me, but someone had to compile and render this. Someone put that shield on top of that armor and pressed export, and now one of the best Game of Thrones entries has the most baffling visual in it. It's astounding. I will die thinking about this. Season 8 only takes place in 2 locations, so they had to make a new credit sequence. Luckily, all of its dragons have 2 legs, so I will contain myself. Amazingly, Daenerys has barely any dragon merch during her arrival at Winterfell, only these 2 banners, which I'm pretty sure actually have 2 legs, which I really wasn't expecting at this point in the show. Same with these tokens in the battle plan scene. Despite being the longest episode and being about a battle featuring a Targaryen army, I can't see any Targaryen banners in the Long Night, but that might be because I can't see fucking anything in the Long Night. Here's the token again, but Dany's army continues to not represent their leader's house at all as they march south from Winterfell, and her fleet still has the 4-legged sails. Dragonstone continues to be completely undecorated, so no dragons there, but amazingly, Daenerys actually has some banners at the stupid Tyrion Qyburn meeting, and even more amazingly, they've got 2 legs. I'd be tempted to search for an in-world explanation and say that the 4-leg design is a specifically naval ensign for some reason, but that wouldn't explain Viserys' doublet or Rhaegar's armor. The truth is, there is no in-world explanation. It's just a wildly inconsistent detail that should be chalked up to human error. The Bells is literally Daenerys Targaryen's conquest of King's Landing, and yet the army has no banners bearing her arms. Then again, the army is composed of Northmen, Valemen, Dothraki, Unsullied, and Davos Seaworth for some reason, and some of them don't technically serve Daenerys, so we should be seeing Stark and Arryn arms and those of their vassals. Then again, they don't have any banners because this is late Game of Thrones and who cares? The whole battle, I don't think there's a single Targaryen sigil. The Golden Company looks great, which is honestly hilarious because they don't do anything. Anyway, the last episode. This enormous banner has 4 legs, which supports my argument that real props get the correct design and CG gets 4 legs. And I think that's the last one because Jon kills Daenerys for some reason. I wasn't really paying attention because there were no in-world depictions of dragons in this scene. A real dragon? Get out of here, nobody cares. Come back when you're illustrated. Season 8 has like 2 Targaryen banners and one of them's just wrong. The King's Landing extra has a 2-legged sigil, the Blackfire one and the Maegor one also have 2 legs, but the Greyjoy Rebellion one has 4-legged sigils, which they should really be embarrassed about because even though this feature is awesome, they got a detail wrong that even the ad for the horrible browser game got right. And the Tapestry ad gets it right too, which I will now use as an expert level segue right beneath your eyes because you didn't even notice that we're talking about the Bayou-inspired official Game of Thrones tapestry now. Yes, we would like to see the tapestries. This thing is completely consistent with dragon legs. Actual dragons, abstract symbols, designs on sails, all exactly as they should be. It's also entirely awesome, by the way. It's a real tapestry, it's friggin' 87 meters long, and it's a great way to experience Game of Thrones without having to watch 73 hours of drama TV that you know you'll hate by the end. The whole thing is free to explore online. Fully recommend. Oh, bye Tommen. As for merchandise, there's so much of it, and I'm not gonna go through everything. All the currently available official Game of Thrones merch on the WB shop has 2 legs on Targaryen sigils, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't always the case. So that's Game of Thrones, but just the dragon legs. All in all, a complete mess. But if you want to see a real mess, Come with me. The first shot of House of the Dragon has Targaryen banners visible, and you can clearly see a little bit later that they have 4 legs. The big gold dragon on the title card has 4 legs. In fact, let's just cut right to the chase. They've all got 4 legs. Game of Thrones appears to have made an error by mixing up the 2 designs. House of the Dragon appears to have made a choice to go with the 4-legged design. And I can hear you typing your comment, yes, it gets more complicated later, but for starters, House of the Dragon has gone full Welsh and stuck a 4-legged dragon on everything. And I mean everything. Unlike Daenerys, these Targaryens have plastered their branding everywhere, and they're all the anachronistic 4-legged design. Even the pre-Blackfire guy has it wrong. I can slightly understand Viserys III having a 4-legged dragon shirt. He's never seen a dragon, but dragons are an element of these people's daily lives. They got the Darkland sigil wrong too in an equally pedantic way, so we shouldn't be surprised. So while I could bore you all even more by going through every single Targaryen sigil in the show, there are hundreds of them, and it'll be easier to point them out when they're not wrong. It appears to just be the sigils though, as the dragons on Viserys' cool chair appear to only have 2 legs. His cute dragon toys have 2 legs, the dragons on these pillars have 2, and the dragons in the credit sequence have 2 legs. Also true in Season 2's sequence. But the sigil is still wrong in both of them. There's no delicate way of putting this next thing, so I'll just press send. The interspecies orgy paintings in the Red Keep are sometimes tough to make out in full detail, but the dragons all seem to have 2 legs, and they also seem to be enjoying themselves. Things are a little complicated though, because even though the vast majority of sigils depicted on sails, banners, clothings, etc. are 4-legged, there are a strange few which are 2-legged, namely Rhaenyra's coronation dress, which is crazy because it's supposed to match Joe's crown, which has the 4 legs, gross, and these guards' pauldrons. These are genuinely confounding because they're not inherited props from Game of Thrones, they made these new and they're incongruous with every other besigiled object in the season. But Rhaenys and this guard's armor is different with 4-legged pauldrons. Aegon's coronation has him in front of a golden 4-legged sigil, but above him is this new design of a 1-headed dragon. So it's not even the Targaryen sigil, but it still has 4 legs. It's Season 2 and Daemon's armor has what I'm pretty sure are 2-legged dragons. Tangentially, it's the same helmet too, except he's taken the wings off because they're just flair for the tourney and completely impractical for actual combat. I also really like Jace's cute shirt, but it's got 4 legs, which is cringe, as does Aegon's new dragon jumper. And that's really confusing because as of Season 2, Aegon's arms and the Green's banners are a varied coloration of the correct 2-legged sigil. Here's a few examples to convince you in case you implicitly distrust me because of those mean things I said about Season 7. This just in. For Season 3, they're giving Rhaenyra her quartered sigil from the book with the Velaryon and Arryn sigils alongside 2 Targaryen dragons. Of course, one with 2 legs and one with 4.
A ship has been sighted offshore. A lone galleon flying a banner of a 3-headed green dragon.
Who cares about the color? How many legs did it have? So that's Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and how they're both frequently wrong about one of the main symbols of their world. I'm sure this irks George to no end, but probably not as much as the 4-legged dragons making their way onto the covers of his books, or making their way to the inside of his books. This is my copy of the A Game of Thrones 2011 Bantam reprint, and you'll see clearly that the appendix has the Targaryens represented by a 3-headed, 4-legged dragon. This is a screenshot of an ebook of a 1997 printing, and again, it's a 6-limbed freak. So it's not just HBO, George has been dealing with this for a long time. The more recent books, like the illustrated editions and The World of Ice and Fire, use this less stylized graphic for the Targaryen sigil, so it's unlikely these mistakes will be repeated in print. If it's any consolation though, the upcoming A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms show does appear to be using the correct 2-legged sigil in its banners, which surely accounts for at least 70% of George's enthusiasm. Thanks for watching. This was supposed to be an easy, quick shitpost, but I ended up doing actual research, more research for this than like any other video I've done, except for some shit about a sundial I'm working on. Like and subscribe, and never expect this much effort from me ever again. I'm not watching Season 8 again just to count the hay bales. Well, I guess April Fool's happens every year. Can I say out loud that the 4 legs design is easily, like, much worse than the 2 legs one? Am I allowed to say this? Will the people leave me alone? Will I survive? Also, none of the spider Pokemon have 8 legs. What's up with that? Except my goats, Taruntula and Spidops. They know what's up. In George's world,